the book in 1966. And the film was made in 73. And here we are 30 years later, and I think it's every bit as powerful, if not more so, than it was when I first did it. Oh man, it was an adventure. I enjoyed every minute of it. You know, a lot of people would have shriveled up and blown away. But man, I was exhilarated. I'd go home and go to bed and wake up vibrating. Because we never knew on Thursday whether we could meet payroll on Friday. We had to shoot it guerrilla style because that was necessary. The shots that we got of Chicago, we stole. We couldn't get the permits from Mayor Daley, the elder. So I said, look, man, we don't need no permits. We take a camera into Chicago. Who's gonna come and ask us for some paper? So we went in and we shot one scene on the L platform on 63rd and Cottage Grove, which is in the hood where I grew up and where I still live. How did we shoot it? We paid and went through the turnstile. And then we wanted some shots of the L moving, so we got on the next L that came along and went up to the front and pointed the camera out there and shot that. All the scenes in Chicago were theft. It's guerrilla cinema. And I don't see any reason why we should do anything else. If we're going to be outsiders, man, take advantage of being outside. Okay? If you want to be a rich hoe, then go to Hollywood. If you want to say something true about black people, then do what we did. Raise the money from the black community and shoot what you want. Ivan's attorney, Tom Newsom, was a major, he and his brother, who was a professor at Toledo University, were the major fundraisers. For instance, I never raised a dime out of my hometown, Chicago. And I know some of the richest niggas in Chicago. Wouldn't touch it. You know, some of them I haven't spoken to since then. Tom and Dan, his brother, raised the money. And we put every bit of that money into shooting the film. And we raised about $850,000 from blacks. As I recall, UA put up completion funds, and it was less than $200,000. Black films ought to be about black people. They ought to have the same criteria as white films. Financed by, written by, produced by, directed by, distributed by, in theaters that we own if possible. I'm talking about an interdependent economy. I say interdependent because it would be impossible to just pull ourselves out of it.
Self-reliance.
What's that? Self-reliance, yes.
So how do you
which is what my elders preached to me when I was growing up. Now we're talking about integration. Now it's diversity. And the latest thing is reparations, which ain't nothing but begging for crumbs from the white man's table. And we ought to be about the business of building our own tables and baking our own bread. I want people to think. And out of thought, concerned action. You don't act first and then think. You think first and then act. That's why we were given brains. That's why we don't act instinctively. And when we do, we're wrong. Whichever way they go, I want them to think about what I've had to say. I'm not trying to recruit anybody. I'm not trying to proselytize. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I want to shake up the mind. I want people to look at that movie and go out of there thinking. And I think I've accomplished that purpose. I can sum it up in one word: crossover. Okay? When black artists were more concerned about attracting a white audience than entertaining the black audience, they stopped being entertainers and became hoes. Okay? Billie Holiday, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, they weren't concerned with the color of their audience. They knew who their audience was. If the white folks wanted to come in there and buy their records, they were welcome. But they were not playing for white folks. The bling blings are looking for a white audience. Okay? And I feel just like the entertainers and musicians that preceded me. I wouldn't give a damn if nobody white ever read my book. If they do, I want them to pay for it and get my royalties. And if they get something out of it, I say, fine. But my audience is not white. I don't write for black bourgeois intellectuals. I write for the people on the block where I live. Well, man, if you don't belong someplace, get the hell out. There's no excuse now for black people not to be making their own films. With modern technology, you can shoot a film that 10 years ago would have cost $10 million for less than a fraction of that. Now, why do they have to go through all of that pain, man? Are they masochistic or what? Are they hoping that one day they'll make a whole lot of money? You can make a film shoot it DV, digital, for a fraction of what you would. You can make a damn good film for $1 million. In fact, if somebody gave me $1 million, I'd shoot 3. If you want to work for white folks, take what they got to give you, put the money in the back and stop whining. And if it's painful, get out. You can't have it both ways. Once upon a time, they used to own slaves. Nowadays, they rent us. You can break the lease if you want to. I did. I don't know. White folks are not going to change. So some of us have to. And I'm sincerely disappointed in the activity of so-called leaders in our community. I think they've totally lost touch. They spend so much time with white folks trying to convince them to do the right thing that they don't spend enough time on a grassroots level where I live. And they don't know what the people down there are thinking. They don't know what they're feeling. And I'm not at all sure they care. I'm not at all sure they care. I feel a definite sense of elitism today. I don't believe that so-called leaders have any connection with the people, viscerally, intellectually, or otherwise. In fact, I think they're frightened of us. They are afraid of ordinary grassroots black people, yet they still pretend to speak for us. And I say us because that's where I am. They ever try to start a movement of the type before, okay, which was a mass movement of grassroots working class black people led by well-educated elite black people. And I make a distinction between elite and elitist. They can't come back anymore and ask the masses to demonstrate as they did before, as they did with King, as they did with Foreman, Huey, and other leaders. That was a grassroots movement, the leadership notwithstanding. I'm going to get the last laugh on all of those people, the whites and the blacks, who tried to break me. I've had comrades of mine, man, who were broken psychologically, okay? I know one who's a bag lady wandering around talking to herself. I know people who killed themselves. I know others who went crazy. But look at me, man. I'm healthy and happy and having a good time. And if I never made another film, look at the film I made.